Hello everyone. Today I would like you to think about regions not as static administrative units, but as dynamic systems shaped by people, institutions, and relationships. Local and regional development is not simply about economic growth or infrastructure projects. It is a complex, multidimensional process involving cooperation, negotiation, learning, and adaptation. It is about how different actors, public, private, and civil, come together to influence the trajectory of a place. This lecture will guide you through the key participants, their roles, the dynamics of modern regional management, and the organizational structures that make development possible. At the core of local and regional development lies the concept of participants. A participant can be understood as any individual or institution that initiates, shapes, or implements economic or social activities within a region. This definition aligns with broader theories of regional development, such as those proposed by Philip Kotler, who emphasize the importance of stakeholders in place marketing and regional competitiveness. Development processes typically begin with a small group of initiators. These initiators are often driven by dissatisfaction with the current state and a vision for improvement. According to Peter Drucker, innovation and change are always initiated by individuals who see opportunities where others see problems. In regional development, these initiators gradually mobilize other actors, creating a network of participants whose combined efforts shape the development trajectory. Participants can be categorized into several groups. The first group consists of obligatory participants. These are actors whose involvement is indispensable. They include political leaders such as mayors and regional presidents, senior public administrators, and key representatives of the business sector. Their importance stems from their authority, access to resources, and decision-making power. Without them, development lacks legitimacy and coordination. This reflects the institutional perspective highlighted by Douglas North, who argued that institutions and formal authority structures are essential for economic development. The second group includes facultative participants. These actors are not always present, but are involved when specific expertise or resources are needed. Their role is particularly important during the implementation phase of development projects. For example, when constructing a new industrial zone, external investors, consultants, or engineering firms may be invited to participate. Their contribution is often technical and time-bound, yet crucial for successful execution. The third group consists of local or regional personalities. These are individuals who possess significant social capital. According to Robert Putnam, social capital, trust, networks, and norms plays a key role in collective action and regional performance. Local personalities embody this capital. This can be respected politicians, current or past, artists, sportsmen, and other locally famous people. They influence public opinion, legitimize initiatives, and build bridges between institutions and citizens. Their role demonstrates that development is not only about formal structures but also about informal influence. The fourth group includes experts. These are professionals who provide analytical, technical, and methodological support. Their role aligns with the concept of evidence-based policymaking, which emphasizes the use of data and analysis in decision-making. Experts conduct feasibility studies, design strategies, and facilitate communication among participants. They also act as mediators in conflicts, ensuring that decisions are rational and informed. To illustrate these concepts, consider a real-world inspired example from Central Europe. A city aiming to transform a former industrial zone into a technology park must involve multiple participants. The municipal government provides leadership and legitimacy. Universities contribute knowledge and innovation potential. Private investors bring capital. Experts design the project and assess feasibility. Influential personalities promote the vision to the public. This interconnected system of participants reflects what Michael Porter described as a cluster-based approach, where collaboration among actors enhances competitiveness. Once participants are identified, their roles must be clearly defined. In regional management, we distinguish four key roles: implementer, coordinator, facilitator, and instigator. The implementer, often referred to as the businessman, is responsible for executing projects. This role involves risk-taking, resource allocation, and accountability. In line with Joseph Schumpeter, the implementer can be seen as an entrepreneur who drives economic change through action. In a regional context, this role may be played by private firms or public institutions. However, debates persist regarding the extent to which public entities should engage in business activities. Many scholars argue that their primary role should be to create enabling conditions rather than directly competing with private enterprises. The coordinator ensures alignment among participants. This role is essential in complex systems where multiple actors pursue different objectives. Coordination minimizes conflicts, avoids duplication, and ensures efficient use of resources. According to systems theory, effective coordination is necessary to achieve synergy, where the combined effect of participants exceeds the sum of individual contributions. The facilitator focuses on process management. This role involves organizing meetings, managing communication, and supporting collaboration. Facilitators are often professionals from development agencies or NGOs. Their work reflects principles of participatory governance, where stakeholders are actively involved in decision-making processes. The instigator introduces incentives that stimulate development. These may include financial subsidies, tax incentives, or promotional activities. This role is closely related to public policy tools aimed at influencing economic behavior. By reducing barriers and increasing attractiveness, instigators accelerate development processes. For example, some Czech municipalities offer reduced land prices or tax incentives to attract investors. These stimuli can significantly accelerate development, especially in economically weaker regions. In summary, about participants and their roles form the foundation of local and regional development. Development is not an automatic process. It is the result of coordinated actions by diverse actors. Understanding who participates and how they contribute is essential for effective regional management. As we move to the second part of our lecture, we must recognize that local and regional development takes place in a highly dynamic environment. Over the past decades, globalization, technological change, and economic restructuring have fundamentally altered the conditions under which regions operate. One of the most significant changes is the shift from a supplier-driven economy to a demand-driven, customer-oriented one. Regions must now actively compete for investment, talent, and consumers' attention. This has led to the adoption of marketing principles in regional management, a concept strongly associated with Philip Kotler. Regions are no longer passive entities. They must actively position themselves in a competitive global environment. Another key trend is the increasing importance of innovation and knowledge. According to Manuel Castells, we live in a network society where information and knowledge are the primary sources of productivity and power. Regions that fail to adapt to this reality risk marginalization. To manage these challenges, regional development theory has introduced the concept of critical success factors. This concept emphasizes that development depends on a set of interrelated elements. These elements are strategy, organization, processes, communication, people, culture, knowledge, innovation, and partnerships. The idea is that these factors must be managed holistically rather than in isolation. Strategy provides direction and defines long-term goals. Different approaches to strategy exist, ranging from rational planning to adaptive and innovation-driven models. Henry Mintzberg argued that strategy is not always a deliberate plan, but can emerge over time through patterns of behavior. This perspective is particularly relevant in dynamic environments where flexibility is essential. Organizational structures must support strategic objectives. Traditional hierarchical structures are often too rigid for modern challenges. Instead, flexible, team-based, and network-oriented structures are preferred. These allow faster decision-making and better adaptation to change. For example, in Czech Republic, regional agencies often operate as small, flexible teams rather than strict bureaucracies. This allows faster decision-making and adaptation to EU funding cycles. Processes are the mechanisms through which strategies are implemented. These include strategic management, project management, and change management. Effective processes ensure that resources are used efficiently and that objectives are achieved. Information and communication are critical in the digital age. The ability to collect, analyze, and share information enhances decision making and coordination. Transparent communication also builds trust among participants, which is essential for cooperation. For example, digital platforms now allow municipalities to communicate directly with citizens, gather feedback, and improve transparency. People are the most important resource in any region. Human capital, skills, knowledge, and creativity determines competitiveness. Investment in education and lifelong learning is therefore a key priority. Culture provides the context for development. It includes values such as trust, cooperation, and openness to innovation. According to Edgar Schein, culture shapes how individuals perceive and respond to challenges. A supportive culture fosters collaboration and innovation. Knowledge is a central driver of development. The concept of learning regions emphasizes the importance of continuous learning and knowledge exchange. Regions must develop systems that facilitate interaction among universities, businesses, and public institutions. Joseph Schumpeter highlighted the role of innovation as the engine of economic growth. Both radical and incremental innovations are important for maintaining competitiveness. Partnerships and networks connect participants and enable collective action. According to network theory, strong and diverse connections enhance the ability to mobilize resources and respond to change. Partnerships are particularly important in addressing complex challenges that exceed the capacity of individual actors. For example, in Europe, small municipalities often form microregions to jointly apply for EU funding and implement projects. In conclusion, managing local and regional development in a dynamic environment requires an integrated approach. Regions must balance multiple factors, adapt to change, and foster collaboration among participants. Success depends not on individual elements, but on their interaction and synergy. In the final part of our lecture, we focus on the organizational dimension of local and regional development. Development is not a spontaneous process. It requires institutions that coordinate activities, manage resources, and ensure continuity. Local and regional development can be understood as a process of institutional creation. Organizations are established to bring together participants, implement strategies, and manage projects. Their effectiveness depends on their structure, resources, and legitimacy. One of the key requirements for development organizations is clear leadership. The coordinator must be appointed to guide the process and ensure accountability. This reflects principles of governance, where leadership is essential for direction and coordination. Another important function is marketing. Development organizations must promote the region to attract investment, talent, and visitors. This includes not only physical assets, such as land and infrastructure, but also intangible qualities, such as quality of life and cultural identity. Supporting the private sector is also crucial. Development organizations provide information, facilitate networking, and sometimes offer financial support. This creates an environment in which businesses can thrive and contribute to economic growth. Integration is another key function. Development organizations must align goals, projects, and resources across different levels and sectors. This ensures coherence and efficiency in development efforts. There are several types of development organizations. Public development agencies established by governments provide legitimacy and access to funding. For example, many Czech regions operate development agencies linked to regional governments. Then private agencies offer flexibility and efficiency. And public-private partnerships combine these advantages, creating dynamic and resource-rich structures. Public-private partnerships are particularly important because they bring together the strengths of different sectors. Public institutions provide stability and legitimacy, while private actors contribute innovation and efficiency. This combination enhances the effectiveness of development initiatives. Regardless of their form, development organizations must meet two fundamental conditions. They must have authority, meaning they are recognized and trusted by participants. They must also have sufficient resources, including financial means, human capital, and information. Without these, they cannot function effectively. In summary, organizational structures are the backbone of local and regional development. They provide the framework within which participants interact, strategies are implemented, and goals are achieved. As we conclude this lecture, let us reflect on the broader implications of what we have discussed. So, local and regional development is a complex and dynamic process that depends on the interaction of participants, the management of critical factors, and the effectiveness of organizational structures. We have seen that development begins with people, individuals, and institutions who initiate change and mobilize others. We have explored how roles such as implementers, coordinators, facilitators, and instigators shape the whole process. We have also examined how dynamic environments require integrated management approaches and how organizations provide the structure necessary for long-term success. However, beyond all these theoretical concepts, there is a fundamental truth. Development is ultimately about collaboration, trust, and shared vision. No strategy, no institution, and no financial resource can replace genuine cooperation among people who are committed to the future of their region. As future professionals, you will have the opportunity to participate in these processes. Your ability to understand complex systems, work with diverse stakeholders, and build partnerships will determine your impact. And so I encourage you to think critically, act responsibly, and always remember that regions are shaped not only by policies and investments, but by people and their willingness to work together. Thank you for your attention.